dobre.
Chilliwack, BC, June 1994. The 1st Combat Engineers have brought Corporal Mark Isfeld home to his family. He's the 10th Canadian soldier to be killed in the Balkans since Canada first sent peacekeepers there in 1992.
The helicopter landed. They threw me inside, and they threw Issy in on top. So, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you look out and everybody's there, the whole, you know, there's a battalion out there.
Sergeant Greg James was Mark Isfeld's section commander in Croatia.
So we get aboard the helicopter, and all you could do with Issy is, you knew he must have been, right? So you just reached up and touched him and tell him to hang in there.
You don't dwell on it, you don't think about it. If you did, you could never go out every morning into the fields, you know. Sometimes at night when you're having a few pints and you just say, fuck, if it ever happened to me, just let me lay there and bleed, you know, don't even try to fix me. But the next day, hit the clear button, get back out there, you know.
Warrant Officer Daniel Hartford has escorted Mark Isfeld's body back to Canada. Next week, he'll rejoin their unit in the Balkans and start clearing minefields again. Mark Isfeld's first tour of duty in former Yugoslavia was in 1992.
TMA-3 anti-tank mines. Here Sergeant Payne is checking this TMA-3. He's looking for anti-lift wires. The TMA-3 has a little anti-lift well in the bottom.
It was the first time he'd ever cleared live mines under combat conditions.
This is what's left of the track. Sergeant Payne's still in those boots, no problem there.
Fucking arsehole.
It's a vehicle that was struck. Okay, we pulled the mine. Obviously it's safe. We're here.
Issy even made a video and sent it home to his parents.
Make sure that the fuse is seated properly. Some of these have been booby trapped. Okay, there's a lot of roots and stuff underneath this be very easy to put a anti-lift wire attached to one of them and feel pretty natural. So I'm going to get as close to it as I can. You reach under it quite a ways. Yeah, that's just a root. Okay, I can feel the well. No. Here goes. It's safe. It's almost as good as a fish, Dad.
Canada tries to rotate its peacekeepers every 6 months, but it's a small army, so your turn comes around again pretty fast. By the spring of 1994, Issy's troop of combat engineers is back in the Balkans.
It's very difficult to determine the number of mines that are in this area. However, from the traces and the records which both sides have submitted, for example, in this particular area, there are approximately 400,000 to 600,000 mines. The ground has changed hands several times in certain areas throughout the line of separation, where neither side is aware if additional mines had been put in place or operations had been conducted to change the locations of certain minefields.
This is not the first time this has happened, and we're now going to 92 Brigade headquarters to, in fact, give them fuel. More to follow over.
What we have here is a Serbian minefield record. It's the same format as the old former Yugoslav Republic used. What we will receive from the belligerent forces to actually go out and conduct mine clearance, and it will show us kind of where the mines are within paces. So as you can see, it's not the easiest job in the world. The section commander, before he goes out again, will take this and he'll place it on the map, and it'll give him an idea where there could be mines, and we'll give him a little heads up so he can be better prepared for the day. This is the area that we're going to be going into today. As you can see, when we place the trace up on the map, it's fairly congested with minefields, so we'll be that much more vigilant out there.
Mine clearing is dangerous work, but if you're going to peacekeep, you have to do it. Otherwise, your troops can't move around the zone they're supposed to control.
Engineers on both sides are probably have light conversation. They're joking about their girlfriends. They're talking about what they did last night. The odd one-liner will be happening. Just getting psyched out to get on the day's events. The Croatian forces are doing the exact same thing. They have the advantage of half-ass knowing where the mines are, whereas we don't. Forward, they have a sweep team / the guy that finds a tripwire accidentally. And then behind them, they've got the commander. He's the guy there with the radio, and he also has the minefield records for this area, which are fairly accurate on the Croatian side, a little bit more questionable on the Serb side.
Once the peacekeepers have separated the two sides, the most urgent job is opening up patrol routes in the zone of separation. And the people who originally laid the mines, the Serbs and the Croats in this case, are supposed to help you find them. Sometimes they do. Mark Isfeld.
We were clearing up to a Croatian OP, and the Croatian watched us clearing for approximately 2 hours up to his point. Then he started to wave at us and point us, try to get us to go back, and he realized that we were going to push on forward, and he came up and he lifted 20 PMA2s. It's a small little anti-personnel mine with enough power just to blow off your foot, and all that you see is a little star-shaped pressure plate on the top. He lifted those, and then he made us aware of another 7 anti-personnel mines that were in grass that was waist high. Myself and Philip, one of the better engineers that we've met, a Croatian. Him and I lifted those mines, and we came on one PMR 2 that the fuse, the pin was actually out and it failed to function. So anything from a blade of grass to a little flick is enough to set that off. While he was investigating that mine, we noticed that there was a prom in the ground right beside it, of which he knew nothing about. We didn't know where it came from, and at that point we decided we were going to blow those mines up. But that was a pretty scary situation to be in.
Are there any more of these out there?
За садишнji način možda naći možeš.
Was this in the original minefield, or is someone else put this in?
Bila je po zapisniku.
Da!
What they're doing now is they're rigging all the mines so they'll go all at one shot.
Zašto ti to pete kulske mine, Bog te jeba, to napravi štetu, znaš kako.
The mine is plastic. It can't be picked up by the metal detector. And the only piece that it's actually picking up is the detonator right in here. That's all it's picking up. So if it's deeply buried, we're not going to find it because of the density. All right, first thing is...
Greg James is a sergeant and Mark Isfeld is a corporal. So Greg gives the orders when orders are needed. But he and Issy lift the mines together.
As far as we can and check it out. Tally, Mike, you stay back here and prep some charges. Set the mine detector up with the PMA3 fuse.
We're on a booby trap clearance operation. Luckily the weather's with us today. It's not always that way.
Dan Hartford is the troop warrant officer in charge of the whole operation.
The routes and whatnot through the zone of separation have, for the most part, been cleared. We've moved into a phase now wherein the next stage of the game is to make the land productive again for the farmers. That includes clearing buildings, dwellings, outbuildings, sheds, barns, and whatnot. First phase of the game is recce. You can see my men over here. First thing they're going to be doing is utilizing optics of one kind or another, binoculars, spotting scopes. Occasionally we use the scopes mounted on our rifles, although it's makes the local people a little nervous when we do that. The idea is to look as closely at the ground for any signs or indications that there is booby trapping or mining. The drill normally is if we suspect or if we locate a booby trap of some kind, rather than fuck with it, ideally we can just put a charge next to it and blow it up. That's the preferable method. It's quicker, it's more cost effective in terms of man hours, and it's a lot safer for us. There are times when we can't do it if the booby trap is situated near or on something that we want to save for one reason or another. And if it's relatively safe to handle, we may attempt to hand render safe. We don't know what we've got here yet. It'll play like it plays. Towards that end of blowing it up, we've got a man over here that's prepping. Just finished prepping explosive charges, just to save time. If we do need them, they'll be ready to go forward.
The way you got to do it, you more or less got to wrap it 6 to 8 times around the C4. Pass it through. Sure that you got a nice tight fit.
They're saying the pump house. Depending on who laid it, there could be a come up. All right, there may be something in front of the pump house waiting for us. All right, or it could be actually into the pump house. All right, so if it's a come on, we're going to go with that. there's anything in between us and the pump house, we'll bip. Okay, but the pump house must stay. So if there's anything near the pump house that will damage it, we'll have to disarm. All right? You two stay back here, prep the charges, carry on. Myself and Issy will go forward. Okay, let's have a round of spout.
Okay, troops have locked and loaded. They have a round up the spout. At times that contravenes various regulations. I won't say it's a common practice, but it does happen, and it's just a matter of self-preservation. If you're in a minefield, you don't really have a lot of time to take up fire positions and whatnot. You want to be able to put at least a little suppressive fire down real fast, because you can't just sprawl out on the ground. The best analogy with reference to the dangers involved would be something like a professional racing, I guess. Indianapolis 500, you get the best track and the best cars that money and science can produce, driven by the best drivers that genetics puts together. But every one of them knows when they start the engine that they might not finish the race. You know, they just eliminate as many variables as they can and bash on. It's basically what we have to do. You got anything, Greg? What do you figure that is? That line?
Like a container to the right, to the left.
Not seeing.
Okay. See the boulder?
Uh-huh.
Right on the left with the tip.
Yeah.
Okay, just to the left, there's a white styrofoam.
See? Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
on the top it's dark, so therefore there may be holes. Right? And if it is, it could be the fuse container for the PMR2.
You figure that line is across there? That white line?
Which line is that? Going across there?
Yeah, that pit.
Haven't got a clue yet. Not till I get up there. Okay. What is it, Mark?
It's the top off the PMR2 fuse container.
Okay, we've got confirmation now. Just to add a little more credence to the local gossip, we've actually found a sign that,
Okay.
that somebody's been
Stop,
using
drop.
the fuses out here.
Leave it. Okay. And back off. Okay. Let's mark this. Yeah, but that's okay. We're gonna mark it from here.
3 stones is the warning that there are mines ahead.
One of the ironies of this kind of life is that the world happens around you. You know, you'd be out here sweating blood, sweating bullets, fucking nuts on the line, and you know, a water truck will go by, or everybody's got their own little world happening.
Go in between the pipe, and we're going to work our way around to the right. Okay, in behind the house, check the whole house out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's PMR2s here for sure.
They've cleared the way up to the, what I'm sure is a pump house. They've cleared a bit of workspace around it, and what they're trying to do now is get a good look inside of it. Sergeant James is using a mini mag light, little flashlight that almost all of us carry, which is a cat's ass for this type of work. It's too bad the D&D doesn't see fit to give them to us. We got to buy them ourselves.
PMR2A up there, man. Okay, I see the wire.
Yeah, I got a clear sight of it in here.
Can you see anything on the wall, on your wall?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing on that side.
You don't see nothing on my wall, eh?
These engineers are risking their lives to save the pump of a farmer they will probably never meet. but they know he can't replace it.
Okay, we got some.
PMR two-way, right here. Okay? There's a door. When we open it up, the ping comes out. And we're dust.
Can you get in at it? Can you get in at it?
I'm just going to see now.
What else is in there?
There's a pump.
There is
The
one?
pump, yeah, the pump is here, so we're going to have, I can't blow it, we're going to have to disarm it.
Let's go get the tripwire.
Okay?
There would have had to have been enough room for their hand to come out after tying it off, so you got an inch or so anyway.
Should be. Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go around it.
Yeah. Whoa, 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 back off, back off. Okay, come ahead again.
First thing he's going to do is
Come ahead, okay,
run a
good.
tripwire feeler
Come through there.
through a crack to see if there's in fact only that one tripwire. He must have pretty good vision in through those holes, or he wouldn't have decided on this approach.
Is he okay?
Yeah, she's okay so
Okay.
far.
I can see it. I can see it.
It's good. You still got some
Have I got
slack.
more room?
Yeah, you do. Oh, you're gonna get.
What side am I on?
You're on the good side.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, you're set.
Okay, there's stuff on it. Okay, let her go. Okay, hold that up.
Yeah.
Hold that up.
Well, it looks like we just saved the farmer a pump. Simply removing the body of the mine. And there it is. It's a genuine article. It's cast TNT.
Yeah, that's the core of it there.
Yeah, that's the explosive. So what's left now is to get rid of the explosive and to give the mine body to some remp for a pencil holder.
The detonator screws up your whole life for a while. That's basically it.
Greg James has been in the Army 16 years. It's Issy's 8th year.
This mine is the PMA 3. It's one of the more deadly mines. It actually contains about the least explosives. There's only 35 grams of explosives in the mine. All it's going to really do is put a hole through your foot, maybe take off your toes or whatever. But that's enough to take a few guys out of the picture.
You find the people who laid them will even refuse to go down and pick them up. We have so-called gray areas where nobody's too sure on who laid it, the Croatians or the Serbians. So therefore, we have to go in and we'll find quite a few of them, right? They're pretty scary getting close to them.
This mine here took the life of one of our comrades on the first tour that was here before. This is a TMA-5. It's a completely plastic mine. The only detectable part is when you put the fuse into it. But judging by the size of the hole that was left when the vehicle drove over the mine, they suspect there was around 3 to 5 of these mines actually stacked on top of each other. And that was in an area that was suspectedly reseeded. After we had cleared it, they came in afterwards and put more mines. I don't know if it was to retain the area in its mine state, or who knows, it's all speculation whether they were going after us or not. Everything that's here in theater, we've been given specific direction to actually blow up unless it's of a nature that it's extremely dangerous to blow it up where it's sitting, or orders come down that whatever it is, where it's sitting, has to be saved or the like. So generally the rule is we're going to blow it up because we're not here to go for the thrill of disarming the stuff. You know, it's enough for us to take care of that mine and get rid of it so that it can't kill anybody.
The trickiest situations are where there's been fighting and there are abandoned and damaged explosives as well as the usual booby traps.
We're going to yank them out, see if it holds any surprises for us.
The Serbs pulled off this observation post in a hurry some time ago. Now it's going to become a Canadian OP. But first, the engineers have to clear it. Right on top of the bunker is the worst thing of all, a mine that's been triggered but hasn't exploded yet.
What it is, the prom is damaged. Looks like she did go up. The first charge did send her up about a meter. The main charge never went. So that means the detonator is still functioning. Okay, so instead of taking this back down the road, what I'm going to end up doing is bit it. No reason for me to touch it. There's nothing important here. What we got is we're going to go down and take care of the boxes that we found another prom while we were walking down. So go down and get rid of that one first, and then we'll take care of the boxes.
What we have here is a BIP. Basically, we're going to blow a bunch of explosives that we picked up in the fields around here. It's going to happen in about 18 minutes. You want to be at least 500 meters away from this, or you're going to wear some of the rock around you. It took us men, 6 guys, 2 hours to set this up. There's approximately 500 kilograms of explosives going to be detonated at once. There's many types of mines. There's TMA-2s, TMA-3s, TMA-4s, TMM-1s. They are booby trapping the TMA-3s, TMA-4s, which what they're using is a PROM-1, which is a bounding mine. It bounds approximately a meter from the ground and detonates with 700 ball bearings in it. What happens is they dig a hole, nice round hole, put it in the ground, place the mine top level with the ground with the mine on top of the anti-burst mine. So as soon as you unscrew, take the fuses out, you figure it's safe, go to pick up this mine, it moves the fuse on top of the Prom 1, detonates that, which detonates this, and you become a member of the Pink Mist Society.
The Pink Mist Society. As the soldiers say, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have joined.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, detonation! It's different now with the summertime coming, everything growing up, and the heat, especially with the small amount of engineers we have here. You really have to sit down, suck back, and reload at times. Because, you know, we lost a few soldiers already in the last couple of weeks, and if we keep going the way we're going to start losing more. Big time. But, yeah.
If you get underneath here, you can see there's a hole ripped right in the hull. Underneath here, and that was right underneath him. And the force of the explosion, from what I understand, just threw him right up, almost through the hatch. So
The problem is trying to find it before it finds you. And that day, it found us first. Right.
We walked up to about over here. We scoped this area out here. It was obviously the grass was a lot taller at the time. It was taller than me. We talked, took a bearing, because we couldn't really see the pipe coming across at the time. We decided, since it was too narrow at that point for Ed, we backed up and came over here. By then, both sergeants were over there, Recce Sergeant, Sergeant James. Issy had walked across, he was standing up here on top of the berm. Ed was coming up like this, and that's when I turned to look at the AM and the recce carrier. And then that's when the mines went off.
The plan was to bring the APC up and go through the tall grass with the APC. If the water main was low enough in the ground. Issy decided to bring the APC up. I looked at Issy and I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And Issy motioned and he said, "Just a second." Motioned with his hand. And then it happened. A mine went off underneath the APC. Another one went off over by Issy. Altogether, there was, they say, didn't stick around. There were 7 hooked up in a necklace. So all 7 should have went off, but only 2 went off. I was about 35 feet, and Sergeant McMillan, he was off behind me to the side. So went off, and there was a black dot came out. You felt, you heard the shock wave. Within milliseconds, the black dot came from the driver's side of the APC, came towards us. And it must have been the shock wave coming out, kinetic energy, metal. Everything came towards us anyway. I felt my face come open, my cheek come open. And I went down. I went straight down onto the concrete pad. I can remember my head bouncing 3 times on the concrete pad. And your eyes are open. You just lie there. And then I seen the blood and like pieces of my cheek underneath me. And I went to put my hand up to my face, and I couldn't move my arm up. So I knew I was hit in the shoulder too. So I yelled out I was down. Sergeant McMillan, who was behind me, he yelled out he was hit. So I yelled out for Issy. Everything's happening at the same time, right? Yell out to Issy, get no response from Issy, trying to get the field dressing off my side to put up to my face tried to stand up, and then I looked down at my foot, and my foot is bleeding through the boot. I yelled out for Issy, and I got no response from Issy. And I yelled out twice, and he never answered. So I yelled out for Miriam, and Miriam, he yelled out he was okay. He yelled out for Tally, Tally's okay. Yelled out for Ed, I never got nothing back from Ed. Ed was okay, but I probably from the engine, he never heard me, or numerous of other things. And plus, imagine he was a little stunned, as in the mine went off just behind him. He wasn't hurt, and so it would have sent vibrations through the carrier. So he was still stunned by that. Hollywood said, Issy's down, he's out in front of the APC. So I yelled back, I said, well, go out and get him. I tried to get up and to get an overall view, overall picture, but you got too many holes in your legs, you can't get up. So I had to lie there. The infantry sergeant got cut my rifle off me. And he's putting shell dressings on himself, and I'm trying to put shell dressings on myself. Miriam finally got out to Issy, then Miriam got out there in seconds. Someone yelled out, move the APC. And I yelled back, no, leave the APC where it's at, because what I was afraid of is if the APC moved, if it already hit a mine, it can hit another mine. So Miriam gets out to him, Tally yells out, he says, Tally's out there pretty well by now too. Tally yells out that the minefield's on fire. So now we've got a fire in the middle of the minefield. So all we needed was the fire to hit a mine, get enough heat in there, and another one will go off. So all you yell out is, you know, carry on, you're doing good, just, you know, get Issy out of there. So they got Issy out, and then they came for me, and little Tally said I was heavy, but with a little bit of encouragement, he picked me up. And he dragged us out. We got to the back of the APC, and then I looked over at Issy. This was the first time I saw him since when he was standing in front of the APC. And you looked over and you knew right there and then that he was dead. So finally they got me in the x-ray machine, in the x-ray room. They're doing the x-rays, looking for all this metal. And finally I wouldn't let him touch me anymore. I said, go get me the Dr. Smith. And Dr. Smith came in. I said, where's Issy? And he said, don't worry about Issy, just worry about yourself. And so I just grabbed him, like, not grabbed him, but, you know, I reached up and touched him, and I said, is he dead? And he said, yeah, he's dead. And I said, well, that's all you had to do, was just tell me he was dead. He said he died on the operating table, but Issy died in front of the APC in the minefield, and that's where he died. Clinically, he died in the operating table, but Issy died in the minefield. Right.
The worst thing that I was dreading, and I had a recurring dream about it the last few nights, was having to meet his wife and his kids and his mother, his father. I had this dream where I was in a church or a chapel of some type, and the coffin was laid out behind me, and I was some kind of guard, some kind of Buckingham Palace type statue. You know, I wasn't allowed to blink or shift around or anything. And his wife was right up in my face, screaming at me and spitting on me and clawing at me and tearing all insignia and whatnot off my uniform, and his kids were there and doing the same thing, and you know, all I could do was just stand there and stare straight ahead at attention, you know, and everybody in the church was cheering her on. I just, I felt terrible, you know. I felt like it was, I took her husband away, and I didn't bring him back, you know. It didn't turn out that way. I met her and I met the family, and I had to break the news to her that I didn't think it would be a good idea to have an open coffin, you know. She took it in stride. I mean, it was hard for her. His mother was in pretty hard shape about it. She had her heart set on kissing her son goodbye one last time, but it was just not a good thing to do.
I haven't talked to his mom yet. I talked to Kelly and his dad. I feel better, but his mom is going to be hard to talk to. I don't, what are you supposed to say? I mean, you were responsible for someone's life. Not his death, but his life. So, what are you supposed to tell him? I don't know.
I'm not a superstitious person, nor do I believe in psychic anything, but Mark told me that he was apprehensive before he went on this trip. He told me that something is going to happen, Dad. Something is going to happen, and he immediately said to me, not necessarily to me, he says, but I don't like it. I don't like the situation. Something is going to happen. He was a very caring person. My wife makes little dolls. On this trip, she made, on the first trip, Mark used to give the candy and stuff to the kids and all this stuff. My wife made these little dolls. They're just made out of knitting, you know, scrap knitting material, anything. But the kids over there don't have a great deal to, you know, to play with. And this is easy to carry in the field, anywhere. He could give them to, you know, whoever he thought needed them. And
Mark's little, he always had his ways of trying to make me feel more involved with what he was doing to make me worry less. I also knew that I wouldn't see him again. I'm very psychic. He phoned me on my birthday on June 2nd, and he told me once again, Mom, remember, I'm careful, I know what I'm doing, but they will call Kelly first. And he said, the dolls are a hit, please keep making them. I'll see you soon. And then he reminded me over and over and over again, Mom, every mine I lift, someone else won't die.
Issy used to give so much to other people. His mom collected the dolls, you know. Well, and we'd stop the APC, be driving down the road, going to a task site, and Issy would go, see any kids? Right? So sometimes, you know, I think the section was looking for little boys and little girls more than they were looking for snipers, you know. And so we'd find one, and Issy go, we'd stop, and he'd go, well, we're running kind of late here, we'll come back on the way back. We'll remember this house, so we'll come back. And Issy would jump off the APC, you know, and run over with his little doll and some candy, right, and give it to the little girl, right? And he'd come back with this story, you know, how big her eyes are, and her, you know, and she's smiling, you know, and right. And he'd be proud that he made someone's day, right? You know, but That's what Issy collected, was little smiles, little hearts, little handshakes. Right? He didn't collect, you know, helmets and guns. He collected little hearts, little smiles, big eyes, you know. And
Issy was really tuned into it. He had a special thing with the kids and that, and that's why it's worth it. There's a lot of people walking around now that wouldn't be if we hadn't been over there, and if we don't stay over there, especially the kids. You know, they're not part of the problem. They're just kids, for Christ's sake. They deserve to live. They deserve to have a childhood. You know, they deserve to have 2 legs and a face. Sure, it's worth it.
Each and every time our men have gone overseas on these peacekeeping tours, it's like an afterthought to show them getting on a plane or off a plane, and then they're showing some murder or some bloody thing about the taxes. And each man that gets murdered or hurt over there, it's the 3rd or the 4th thing on the news. And I always got upset because I wanted to see the person and feel for them. But this time it was my son. And I had to listen to O.J. Simpson's bullshit and some American soldier gunning down a bunch of people. And then as an afterthought, by the way, there's one more Canadian soldier died.